Hi, Celeste. Thank you so much for carving out time to talk to me today. I'm so excited to hear everything that you'll be sharing with us. Um, Before we get started, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself and who you are and where you are and what you do and all that good stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Brown. My name is Celeste Roberts. I serve as the CEO and co-founder of the Skills Center. Uh, the Skills Center is a youth development organization. We strategically utilize athletics as a mean of creating equity in education, health, and workforce training.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I met you last week and here we are. We didn't waste any
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And as you saw, I got all excited when I heard about the collaborative effort that you are engaged in right now. So without going too much into details, because I will ask questions, can you just give a high level overview of what who's involved in the collaboration effort and just the overall goal of what it's all about?
Definitely. So our overall goal really is to create upward economic mobility. Interesting way, right, to get to it through sports-based youth development. However, we just believe that we can work smarter together, that there's a better way to provide youth development services that are connected directly to a youth future. So to the workforce, to careers, right? To something that is going to make them be able to take care of themselves and make above a livable wage. So ultimately, that's our goal. We go about it in such a different and unique way, and that's really through the collaboration with other youth serving organizations. So we're partnering with CDC, Men of Vision, Girls Empowered Mentally for Success, and G3. So collectively, we are the core partners of this collaboration. And then there's multiple layers outside of that, but that's the core.
Okay. And just quickly for people who may not know, like me, what is G3?
So G3 is a youth development organization. They provide after school programs and they are very strong on life skills. They provide to after school in the community as well, a lot of leadership development types of programs. And they've been around for probably about 10 years.
All righty. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Next, why did you decide that collaboration was necessary?
So I was a part of, or I experienced collaboration in 2000 when the city of Tampa received a $24 million grant from the Department of Labor, and it required collaboration of youth development organizations. And so it was an amazing experience, not easy, because this was something new back then, but very rewarding, very successful, great outcomes and results. And so that program ended in 2005. The Skills Center actually was a strategy of this Department of Labor grant. We used the sports-based youth development strategy. Again, this was workforce development. We used the sports-based youth development strategy and we made a whole organization out of that for the last 15 years. We've always wanted to return back to this collaborative approach because while the Skills Center has done, I would say, good, we have helped young people be promoted on time, get to graduation, have a high retention rate, right? We have great outcomes, but could we do more? And the answer is yes. And the only way for us to do more is to collaborate. And so that's how we got back to this model.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Before the four, and I believe you said 4 organizations, there are 4 of you, right?
It's total of 5. So 4 of the organizations plus the Skills Center.
Right, 5. Thank you.
Yeah.
Before the 5 organizations agreed to collaborate, what did you all do to ensure an effective relationship process, if you will?
So I think, one of the biggest things I think for us was just trust, right? So these are organizations that I've been working with for years, but we've all worked separately in a sense, right? So we compete for $1,000, we compete for $100,000, right? There has to be a smarter way for us to come together. We serve the same population. could we not leverage our programming, right? Could we not leverage our resources? Could we address our fixed costs, lower our fixed costs, and have a greater impact? Is it possible, right? And so while we've had a relationship and I trusted them, because I think you can't go into a collaboration without trust. Trust has to be there initially, just so that it can move a little bit smoother. So I've had relationships with them. We write each other into our grants, but everything is done individual as an organization, right? When we think about this collaboration, we're thinking of on a whole nother level of how we think about how we provide our services, how we go after our funding, right? What do our outcomes look like when we all work towards the same outcomes, right? We all have different outcomes, and we really don't know each other's outcome unless we ask, right? There's no one place to put it, right? We'll be on all serving the same kids on one system, collecting all the same information. So we'll be able to show a greater impact that we're having overall. And I think it would improve all of our organizations as well.
I'm sitting here trying not to jump out of my seat because you're saying everything that I wrote about. So one of the first things that, or the first step that I share in the book is to establish what a win-win situation looks like for all collaborators, and what win-win looks like for your clients or the people you serve. And so what I heard you say when you started with trust is the win-win.
Most definitely.
Going in and agreeing on how this will serve everyone so that no one feels like they're competing with the other, but instead leveraging one another's strengths and resources to move forward towards agreed upon outcomes.
Most definitely. Yeah.
That's what you said.
I mean, I think it has to be a win-win, and that's just such a great way to put that. And all of us coming together, we see that. We see the benefit of us working together, right? And so I think that's what create win-win. That's what creates sustainability as well. Because when I think of the organizations, including myself, there's 4 organizations that we haven't owned our facilities. CDC owns their facility, right? The other 4 of us, the Skills Center just purchased the building that we're all going into. However, it will create sustainability because one of the things is trying to find space and to be able to afford space, right? To be able to lease something. So when we all come into this facility, it's a game changer of how we sustain ourselves, right? I know for the Skills Center, having our own facility, that's an asset that gives us power, right? And so it really does change your mindset as to what the relationship would be and how our organizations overall will sustain and be, an asset to the community.
That's lovely. I love that. I won't go through every step because I don't want to keep you here all afternoon. So just a few more questions. In all relationships, even personal ones, so I will also in collaborative ones and business ones, there are obstacles because policies between organizations can bump heads, or people,
right?
Human beings can bump heads. Are you able to share an obstacle that you faced in your collaborative effort and how you all overcame it?
Well, I mean, so we're in the initial part, but I can go back to maybe like when Youth Opportunity was here.
Okay.
So the Department of Labor one. When you have someone that feels that they come to the table, but not necessarily with the same goals in mind, right? They present as if they're coming with a certain way. However, their actions is something different. Right. So I think in every collaboration, whether it's personal or professional, you have to have sound communication. You have to have the comfort level, right, to be able to hold and have these discussions that are difficult to have, but they must be had, right? And so I think for us, the biggest piece is communications. Like we have to talk about everything. Anything that is another partner feels is not right, unjust, or whatever that is, we have to discuss it because we don't want it to boil up, right? So for us, communication is key. Like, we have to discuss everything and bring everything to the table. Transparency is key in this type of relationship, so that we don't have this underlining tone of mistrust, right? Yeah.
Again, I'm just trying to control myself. I just want to jump off my seat because you are talking about one of the 4 conditions for success that I discuss in the book. And that is coming to the table with the agreement and the understanding that regular communication is absolutely necessary.
Definitely. You have to have it. Yeah, you have to have it. And some people aren't comfortable with that, so then you can't, they're not the right partners, because it requires time.
It does. It does. It does. But the outcome, as you have experienced from back in 2000 through 05, the outcome is so much greater.
Amazing, like life-changing, right? Life-changing. That's what I'm trying to return back to.
Yeah, okay.
Collaborate. It's life-changing for the young people that we serve. And so I take it serious because I know I've seen it, I experienced it. We're just really reimagining that concept of collaboration, making sure we have all the right components in place to make it successful. But trust and communication, you just can't do collaboration without it, personally or professionally.
I love that you said life-changing, because there's research on collaboration among nonprofits. And one of the questions that was asked was a survey of about 700 nonprofits throughout the country. And one of the questions that was asked was the collaborative effort successful? And I forget the percentage now, but a great number said yes. And then when they defined success, success was just, they checked off the things on the list, not necessarily that the person, the client, or their condition or the community was transformed.
Right.
So when you said life-changing, like something in me just woke up, because that is what is supposed to happen when you're providing services. There should be a change in the life of the people you are serving, and not just in that moment, but something that extends beyond that moment, that carry through into their life. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I really believe that as we think about how we track our outcomes and our results, there's 2 different levels, right? There's a performance level for us to make sure internally that we're doing the things that we need. But ultimately, if we are not helping young people to achieve the outcomes that we set forth, then we're not doing our job. But if we can, it will be life-changing for these young people. And ultimately, that's our focus. So when we'll look at the performance to make sure we're on track so that we can meet our goals, ultimately it is who graduates from high school, who is placed in college, employment, vocational training, or the military. If we cannot get our kids into that, then we're not doing our job as a collaborative.
I have about 2, maybe 3 questions, 2 more. So you all are 5 different organizations, your own mission statements, your own vision statements, your own values. And so I would imagine you have your own objectives, your own goals. How you're still in the beginning stages, so you may need to go back to 2000, and that's fine. But what value did you find in aligning your vision, your mission, your values?
So I think, one is just simply that we serve the same types of kids, right? And because the Skill Center, G3 is the youngest organization. I think they've been around for 10 years. CDC has been around for 30 years, right? And the rest of us in between that. We are experts at the work that we do within our community, especially when it comes to African-American children. And so I've been able to partner with these organizations. So I see how they work, right? I see what they bring to the table. I see the uniqueness in each of those organizations. So initially, just that's why I invited those organizations to join me, right? Because of that. However, I think when I look at my core values, it drives everything that we do, right? And so the interesting piece of that is one of my core values is creating win-win partnerships.
All right.
Like that's one of my core values. It is really operating with honesty and integrity, right? It is being inclusive to all people. It is working with a high performing team, right? And then quality. So those are the skill center values, but in all of the organizations that are joining us, there's an overlap in our values. And that's why we can work together. Yeah. So to me, the core value is what drives everything that we do. If it doesn't align, then we don't mess with it.
See,
right?
And that was my next question. You jumped right into it, because if you don't find that alignment, you have to get to a place where you say, okay, this won't work, but there's another potential collaborative partner out there.
Right, most definitely. And we have, we have said no, because our organizations don't align. And I'm okay with that. And we can still work together, but not in this collaborative format, because it's important for the collaboration that we all work off of, some of the same values.
Yeah.
That's important. Yeah, definitely.
I'll ask one more. I have so many more I can ask, but I won't. I'll ask one more.
Okay.
And that is, but you all are still new. So I have
go ahead and ask, because we've been working at this for over 1.5 years.
Okay. Oh my goodness, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you hit a milestone, what do the collaborative partners do to celebrate?
Well, I'll tell you one of the milestones that we had. So when I first brought up this collaborative to each of them, I met with each individual and I said, they've heard me talk about youth opportunity. CDC was a part of youth opportunities, Department of Labor grant, so they were aware, but the other organizations didn't participate in it. And so, but I've always talked about youth opportunity and the great things and how disappointed I was that our city, we don't have it anymore, right? And if we did, how far ahead would our kids be? But in having those conversations, I didn't have a building. We didn't own a building yet. This was just Celeste's dreams. Like, we could do this, but first I have to get the building, right? So along the way, I have kept them up to date on this building. In April 2021, we secured the building. That was a celebration for all of us, because it just was not the skill center, right? It's so much bigger than our organization, because we know what we're bringing into it. So when we secured it, it was then, for the CDC has its own place right now. So they're just bringing in youth services. But for the other 3 organizations, we have a place, right? Like we have a place where we can go, right? So it was so much bigger than just saying, hey, listen, the skill center has a building. Oh no, when we get something, we all come along. It's just not one, right? And so that probably was the first. And then we've supported each other along the way as we continue to raise the money for the construction of the building.
And you want to raise it together.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, definitely.
Now you make, first I wanted to jump out of my seat, and now you make me want to cry. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that.
Well, thank you.
Oh my goodness. So I'm going to wrap up, but I'm going to tell you what I am hearing it takes to collaborate. For one, in the book, I talk about needing to be conscious, needing to be mindful and present. And part of that means releasing the fear that comes with the competitive mindset and what will happen if I join in with other people.
Yeah.
So it definitely sounds like you release that, you let that go.
Yeah.
Then what I hear is like tenacity and courage. And specifically, I'm hearing, when people say somebody ought to ... fill in the blank. Yeah. And you were walking around thinking, oh, that was such a good thing, that needs to come back. And then you said, I'm going to make it come back.
Right. That's exactly what happened. I was hoping someone else got to it. Didn't happen.
No.
And so I listen, I was called to do this, and I'm open to figuring out how to get it done.
That was your, right. So
Yeah.
there was the tenacity there. And then the last thing that came to mind for me, well, actually two things, the bold leadership to say, I'm going to do what nobody else is stepping up to do. And then the commitment to do it.
Oh, thank you.
Collaboration is something you have to decide you're going to commit to.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. It's easy to do things on our own because we only have one person to say yes or no to ourselves, right? We're always going to give ourselves what we want, right? But to work with other people, that's a challenge. But the result is it's just so much bigger than us doing it individually. So I'm very happy about this. I know it's not an easy task, but I just feel like we can do things more effectively if we could just simply collaborate and work together.
Well, I tell you what, I met you with purpose, and I'm sure it is
Most
beyond this Zoom time here today. There'll be more. I feel that. So I thank you so much again for your time and for sharing. And I'm looking forward to sharing your story on Friday. Thank you, Celeste.